This is Who I Am.
With Orange.
Burying the souls of our favourite music stars to see who rocks their world.
Kerrang Radio.
Slipknot frontman Corey Taylor is probably best known for wearing a mask that would send most children running home to their parents. This image and their brand of grinding new metal has made Slipknot one of the biggest names in rock, bagging themselves a run of #1 albums, a Grammy, and even a couple of Kerrang Awards just a few weeks back. This week on This Is Who I Am with Orange, we're joined by Corey Taylor from Slipknot on Kerrang Radio.
Meeting my dad for the first time was heavy duty. I damn near crumpled. Let's put it that way. I almost collapsed. It was one of those moments that I had with my ex-wife where I was kind of glad she was there. It was one of the few moments that she understood. When I left Stone Sour to join Slipknot, I can remember when I got asked, 4 a.m. at the porn shop, man, I'm just going to put it out there. And it was adorable. My brain was screaming yes. After the initial success, there were very high points, but in 2003, there was a definite low point going on. Obviously, there was the incident at the Hyatt on Sunset. I can remember standing on that balcony, ready. God bless my friend Tom Hazart. If he hadn't been there, we would not be having this conversation today,
I'm Loz Guest, and this week on This Is Who I Am with Orange, we'll be talking to Corey Taylor from Slipknot about the people who have made him who he is today.
Kerrang Radio.
I didn't know a lot of my family when I was growing up, I knew my mom's side, but I didn't know my dad's side, because I didn't grow up with my father. I think the strongest influence I had was my grandmother, actually, my grandmother, Thelma. She kind of instilled in me my work ethic, my attention to loved ones, She was really my proper mom, I love my mother, but, it was such a insane way to grow up, just brutally, just all over the place. My grandmother was my rock. She was my foundation. That, I think, really had a lot of impact on me, especially growing up and even today, my grandmother is so nuts. She retires from one place after working there for 25 years, takes a year off, gets bored, goes back to work at a completely different place, and has now worked there almost 20 years. I'm like, what are you doing? You can barely walk now, but you're still working. Are you out of your mind? I think a lot of the friends that I had when I hit 20, my best friend Denny, a really good friend of mine, Jeff, those are the people, like when I was really kind of still trying to find myself, I found them. And they pretty much opened my mind to everything. I was like a tiny little nuclear bomb just waiting to go off. And when I found them, I found my tribe, basically. We were all into the same kind of crazy music. We were all into the same kind of culture and really just ready to be legends before we had done anything to properly be legends, It was a fantastic time in my life. It was probably the happiest moments in my life.
Kerrang Radio.
Corey Todd Taylor was born in 1973 in Des Moines, Iowa. But he led a nomadic existence, and by the age of 15, he had lived in 15 different U.S. states with his mother and younger sister.
I had absolute terrible time trying to make friends when I was growing up, just because we did move around a lot. Because of my personality, it's the class clown syndrome, the extrovert, the, hey, I'll take my pants off for a quarter, I was that guy, and it worked in some places, it didn't work so much in others. I can remember a 1-year period. We moved 4 times. I went to 3 different junior high schools. I was a dork at one. I was a legend at the middle. And then I was kind of just invisible at the last one. It was a strange year, man. I was really heavily into drugs. So here I was, about 14 years old, and I'd gone from low to high to nothing, And I can remember just going, is this what life is? Is this really, this is what I have to look forward to? And luckily I kind of figured out, no, it's not. And But it's just strange like that when you're moved almost like a chess piece, that you don't have any time to really find those roots or find that stability that I used to envy in a lot of people, you know? But the positive spin on that is that I would not be who I am today. Growing up like that, it was hard at the time, but I wouldn't change it.
Corey grew up not knowing his father, and it would not be until many years later that the two of them would finally be reconciled.
Meeting my dad for the first time was heavy duty. I damn near crumpled. Let's put it that way. I almost collapsed. It was one of those moments that I had with my ex-wife where I was kind of glad she was there. It was one of the few moments that she understood. I can remember driving there just being like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? You know, because before that, we'd only talked twice on the phone, you know, and then the first time I talked to my father was in Brazil. We talked for 45 minutes and we both were just so emotional about it. I mean, in that 45 minutes, a lot of my misconceptions or notions burned. My father has probably the biggest heart I've ever met, man. His wife, Anna, they're two of the most wonderful people on the planet. It made me ready to explore what it's like to be a different person. I mean, so many people limit themselves by holding on to that baggage. They cut themselves off at the knees. And for me, meeting my father and seeing how he was and seeing that other side of where I came from allowed me to kind of ascend spiritually. You know, not to get all hippie or anything, but you can't realize your potential unless you let yourself realize your own potential. And that's what I really took out of discovering my father. Burning Love by Elvis is probably the one track that me and my grandmother kind of bonded on. When I learned to play that on guitar, I ended up sitting in my grandmother's living room playing that for her, and her like crocheting and just giggling.
I'm Loz Guest, and you're listening to This Is Who I Am on Kerrang Radio with Corey Taylor from Slipknot. It was by the age of just 9 that Corey was bitten by the performance bug for the first time, thanks to an impromptu concert at his cousin's house.
The first song that I ever performed was, and it was honestly by accident. You know, I was at my cousin's, I think it was a birthday party, and we had actually kind of let there, all the family were, you know, they're all, you know, hanging around the kitchen table, doing whatever, and we were in her room just listening to music and whatnot. And, you know, she was a couple of years older than me, so she had kind of turned me on to a lot of music then. We were listening to Separate Ways by Journey. I was singing along, and she was slowly but surely turning the music down and listening to me sing. And she stopped it, and she goes, "You come with me right now." And I was like, what? She puts me in the corner in the living room, gathers the whole family, and says, "You've got to hear this. This is fantastic." She made me sing it a cappella. I was like, no, what? No. If that doesn't kind of break your fear, I don't know what does, you know? So yeah, singing Separate Ways in front of my family at the age of 9. You can thank Steve Perry for all the Slipknot music and Stone Sour music, I guess.